Mathilde of the Belgians, a queen with her own agenda.
Ladies and gentlemen, the SDGs embody a strong and powerful message. Hope for our common future.
That's what she's fighting for, both at home and abroad, and she does it with all her heart. The Royal Palace in Brussels.
Oui?
The Queen's office. Today she has to carry out an old tradition, signing birthday cards for Belgian citizens who are about to celebrate their 100th birthdays. Nobody is allowed to disturb her.
En dat is mijn echtgenoot. Dus ik...
Mathilde has been the mother of the nation, First Lady of Belgium, since 2013. A touch of glamour is part of the job, but what else can the people expect of their queen? There's nothing written about it in the Belgian constitution.
She is the queen of the Belgians. She's not the queen of Belgians, she's the queen of the Belgians, and I think that a lot of people see it that way, and I think that she plays that role. Modern royalty is not just about the title and about the looks, it's also about what do you bring to the table.
The castle of Laeken, the residence of the royal family. Preparations are underway for the banquet. It's the first state visit from a French president in 47 years.
Oui, Monsieur Macron.
As the lady of the house, she takes care of the details, offering encouragement to the hotel management trainees.
Bonne chance à vous.
Good luck. I'm sure it will be wonderful. Let's do our best to show the French what we Belgians are capable of.
Mathilde a cette ambition de la perfection.
Mathilde is a total perfectionist. She demands a lot from herself, but also from others. Her staff, for example. She expects them to demonstrate just as much dedication and professionalism as she does from herself.
Conscience professionnelle qu'elle peut en avoir elle-même.
In the evening, everything goes like clockwork. State visits are seen as an expression of friendly relations between countries. And images like this show just what it means for a country to be represented by a king and a queen.
It's a kind of job for which there is not very much of a previous experience or anything comparable to do. You go and work with what you have, but I don't think there is that there was any precise job description. On top of what she does alongside the king, she has a lot of activities of her own. And the end result is, of course, that you have a broader spread, which makes the institution shine as it should.
A modern monarchy requires teamwork. But Philipe is the one who is king. He's the country's #1, albeit without any political power. The king signs off on the laws, oversees the formation of the government, and strengthens unity in the country. The queen is his strongest ally in the field. She carries out 250 official appointments each year. While the Constitution doesn't mention a #2, that fact also opens up opportunities for her, like for her own initiatives, working with kids, for example. She wants to help them tackle bullying. Her previous psychology studies come in handy here. In the Flemish city of Mechelen, pupils are learning how to talk openly about it.
Ik denk door hier aanwezig te zijn, helpt dat zeker. Het is fijn.
The Queen being here helps highlight the issue.
Ik denk dat kinderen dat ook heel erg leuk vinden.
The kids love it and feel motivated to talk about it.
Spreken. Ik denk dat de kinderen...
They all wanted to hug the Queen at the end.
wouden allemaal graag een knuffel geven.
Stop bullying, sing the kids. New forms of media have brought new dangers into children's lives. Many of them are at the mercy of hateful comments on the internet. The Queen has stepped up to fight back.
Bullying is an important issue. The Queen understands the trauma that can arise as a result because she has a special understanding for the children affected and because she's interested in their mental health. Bullying can have dramatic consequences, even including suicide among young people.
Tot en met zelfdoding van jongeren.
Vous les jeunes, vous êtes souvent...
You young people spend a lot of time online.
On Facebook, the Queen's first video message, Mathilde appeals to the children in their own language and calls for mutual respect.
Car le cyberharcèlement...
Internet bullying, it's really uncool.
It's a sensitive issue. The royal family isn't actually allowed to express itself without the backing of the government. So when the Queen speaks to the public like this, everyone knows, oh, this is something really special.
Dit is bijzonder.
Davos in Switzerland, the annual venue of the World Economic Forum. This is where the world's decision-makers meet to talk about the future of our planet, ecological, economic and political. Queen Mathilde is a regular guest.
She is a role model and has the experience to speak about the issues that make sense to people. So she connects and she relates and she can communicate. For our goals, this is about advocacy. It's about bringing hearts and minds behind the actions that we need to take. This is a global voice, and that's what helps us to promote the universality of our agenda.
The Queen has been a UN advocate since 2016. Together with other global figureheads, she promotes the Sustainable Development Goals, the fight against hunger, poverty and climate change, and for improved health and education. The so-called 2030 agenda, the Queen knows it well.
But also psychologically, because they have...
There is no country in the world that can say, I can tackle this on my own. Everyone understands that you need to work together to solve this. And that is a message that she brings. In Belgium, we've had a lot of people from the economic world and the corporate world that she basically dragged into the sustainable development agenda.
2030 is just around the corner. The world has to change now, says the Queen. It's easier for her to speak up than for many politicians.
She's been recognized by the United Nations, recognized by a lot of people as someone who has a conviction that sustainable development goals are important. And there's a lot of pride in Belgium for the role that she is playing.
Mathilde has settled into her life as Queen, which began when her husband Philipe was proclaimed king in 2013. He's head of state to 11 million Belgians and German-speaking ones.
Ich schwöre, die Unabhängigkeit des Landes zu erhalten und die Unversehrtheit des Staatsgebietes zu wahren.
We were on air from early in the morning until midnight, almost 24 hours non-stop. We covered every single minute of that day. Of course, it was the king who ascended the throne, but always with Mathilde at his side. She has no official role, but she's part of the royal team. You get the impression they share the crown, and that she loves her job.
A new chapter in the history of Belgium, exactly 182 years to the day after a German prince from Upper Franconia became the first king of the Belgians. In the royal palace in Brussels, traces of their German ancestry are everywhere. Today, Queen Mathilde is the lady of the house. She receives us exclusively.
Bonjour, madame. Bonjour, majesté. Nous sommes enchantés de...
I'm pleased to welcome you here to the Royal Palace of Brussels.
De Bruxelles, notre premier roi, le roi des Belges.
The Queen also shows us the German ancestors in the Coburg salon. Knowing the family tree is part of her job description.
Le prince Leopold, dans sa première... En 1831, il est devenu...
In 1831, King Leopold became the first king of Belgium. He married Princess Louise Marie of Orléans, daughter of the French King Louis Philippe.
De Louis Philippe, roi des Français. Ses deux parents.
These are his parents, Francis, Duke of Saxe-Coburg-Saalfeld, and his wife, Princess Reuss.
Thanks to some strategic marriages, the Coburg family rose to become the most important dynasty in Europe, not least through the marriage of Leopold's nephew Albert to the British Queen Victoria.
We all know the rest of the story. They had a happy marriage with many children who in turn were married into the European royal families.
There's one painting the Queen particularly likes.
The painting that you see here is said to have been made by Leopold I. It shows an imaginary city. Leopold was talented and liked to paint, and this talent has continued into our family. My husband is a very talented painter. I can't help but be subjective, of course, but I love the way he paints.
Mathilde is the first Belgian queen to really be from Belgium. Born in 1973 as Mathilde Dudecum d'Acoz, she grew up in a castle in Wallonia. Her father was part of the Belgian nobility. Her mother is a Polish countess. She was deeply influenced by her childhood in the Ardennes, a landscape full of memories of the biggest battles of the two world wars. Those who grew up here feel the weight of history.
Her parents' house was partially destroyed during the Ardennes offensive. It's a region that suffered a great deal during the Second World War. Even though Queen Mathilde does not belong to the war generation, she knows the country and its political, social and cultural history.
During the First World War, Flanders was one giant battlefield. Meningate in Flemish Ypres has held a commemoration for the victims of the war every evening since 1924. On the occasion of the 100th anniversary of the end of the war in 2018, the King and Queen are also present. The petals are reminiscent of the poppies that bloomed in the fields when the war broke out. Hundreds of thousands died here, a seminal catastrophe for the Belgians and the world. 100 years ago, their predecessors did all they could to stop exactly this from happening. Brussels, 1914. At the beginning of the First World War, Germany is about to march into France, including through neutral Belgium. In the royal palace, Albert I reigns. His wife, Elisabeth, is originally from Bavaria, a niece of Empress Sissi. One from the house of Wittelsbach, the other from the house of Saxe-Coburg.
Despite their German descent, they are Belgians and want to defend Belgian neutrality and thereby prevent the war. For Albert and Elizabeth, a war is inconceivable. And that is why they write to the German emperor in German.
Your Majesty and dear cousin, Belgium has been independent for over 80 years, and our country has scrupulously observed its international obligations. Your Majesty has given us the assurance to respect the neutrality of Belgium. With this trust, I always remain your loyal cousin, Albert.
Just imagine it. They're in the royal palace. Albert writing the letter and Elizabeth using a dictionary to make sure they find exactly the right words to help maintain the peace.
In vain. On the 4th of August 1914, German soldiers march into Belgium. They occupy Brussels on the 20th of August. King Albert and his soldiers had left the city 3 days earlier, withdrawing to the Belgian coast. Queen Elizabeth accompanies him and his troops, an unusual decision at that time.
They defied conventions, like, for example, the tradition of speaking in the third person about the Queen or the King. Instead, he used to say, my wife, and she spoke of my husband. Those are little things that show that the two were really a great couple. She never left a trace of a doubt as to which side she was on.
Depan. Here, the Belgian army claims a small territory. Just 12 kilometers behind the front line, a military hospital is built. Queen Elizabeth sends her 3 children to England. She visits the wounded almost every day. Not everyone approves.
People think, oh yes, that would have been very well seen by the public. This was not the case. In these times, being a nurse for somebody from that level was really not seen. And that was the kind of sign she gave. Let's be involved. And then in her footsteps, a lot of aristocratic ladies and also of the more burgerliche families joined her.
Her reputation precedes her in Belgium, even today. The royal nurse. Queen Mathilde also holds her predecessor in high regard, and her practicality.
Elisabeth, très tôt, avait un sens pour tout le médical.
Elizabeth had a good understanding of the world of medicine. Why? Because her father was an ophthalmologist. She had a big influence on the Belgian royal family. Here you can see a bust of her on the fireplace. She died in 1965. My husband still has a vague memory of her, and she lives on in our memories because our daughter carries her name, Elizabeth. It's a name that we both like very much, my husband and I.
Crown Princess Elizabeth, the Queen's oldest daughter. In 2014, at the age of 12, she gives a short speech and speaks some German too.
Begon de grote oorlog.
A call for peace.
Es ist an uns Jugendlichen, unsere Fackel hochzuhalten und so wie heute eine Lichterfront zu bilden.
She passed the test. The castle of Laeken, with its famous greenhouses, the official residence of the royal family. The royal couple has 4 children. At the start of the 90s, Belgium amended its order of succession. It's not the first son who succeeds to the throne, but now the first child. And that is Crown Princess Elizabeth, who will one day be the Belgian Queen. The balancing act between family and career is a challenge that also Mathilde faces.
She has very long days. She works hard, and yet she always looks tip-top.
Big fan uitzien, Het is alsof
As
dat
if
ze
she
net
just
2
came
weken
back from a
vakantie
two-week
gehad heeft,
holiday.
hoewel het allemaal niet altijd zo het geval is. Dus zij wil ook
She wants
sterk
to be strong,
voorkomen.
to be a
Zij wil
role
een
model.
voorbeeld zijn.
Her
En
family
haar
is the place
gezin
where she can
is de
forget
plek
the stresses
waar dat
of
zij
everyday
toch,
life.
die de zweep kan afleggen.
That obviously works out very
dagelijkse
well, and
werk.
her family seems very happy about
Dat lukt ook. Je ziet dat het gezin zich ook goed voelt bij die rol.
In public, her every move is scrutinized, including how Mathilde fulfills her role as a mother.
Elle a du personnel.
She has staff, of course, but it's very important for her to be there for the children. Even if she's on the other side of the world, not a day goes by without a phone call or a Skype conversation to know how the children are doing, how things were at school, what's going on at home. She's good at that. But she's very demanding too.
En plus, c'est une maman très, très exigeante.
Playing the piano, for example, she herself learned to play as an adult.
Music is very important to me, and for my children's education too. I encourage them to play. 2 play piano, 1 plays saxophone, a typical Belgian instrument, and the youngest plays the violin.
Tradition and modernity. No one escapes the Queen's passion for music. She takes everyone out for concerts, kids and grown-ups alike, and royal colleagues like Maxima. The Queen Elizabeth competition, named after Elizabeth of Bavaria, Mathilde is honorary president.
The Queen is not governing. In French they say, le roi règne mais ne gouverne pas. He reigns but doesn't govern. In our case, of course, we, with the Executive Committee and the Council, we are leading, but we are informing her on a regular basis. And of course, if we want to have her backing, you must, of course, respond to certain criteria. And one of the first criteria is, of course, excellence.
When it comes to music, in the royal house, Mathilde calls the tune.
I took over the role in 2014. It's a job that's very important to me. Supporting all of those talented young people who dedicate all of their love to music. I go there as often as I can. I love to discover new talents too.
If the monarchy wants to stay relevant, it has to move with the times. Queen Mathilde has to prove herself too, and she's well equipped for the challenge.
She brought a lot of professional background into the job, and that were all differences compared to what had happened before. When she goes out in the field, she's very much involved. She believes in what she's doing, and if she does something, she wants to do it 100%.
And that also means, wherever she is, always finding the right words.
C'est vous le professeur. Vous êtes courageux de les emmener tous ici et qu'ils ne soient pas dispersés. C'est votre première expérience ici? Oh, bonjour.
When visiting the Brussels Book Fair, the Queen has to maneuver between the national languages. Belgium is divided into regions, both cultural and political. There are nearly 6 million Flemings, compared to around 4 million French-speaking Walloons. Brussels is bilingual, while in the east they also speak German.
The German minority in Belgium, the East Belgians, are the most loyal Belgians of all because the East Belgians are very united in supporting Belgium, the country of Belgium. And the royal couple is, of course, the symbol of this country.
The royal family seeks balance and stands for unity, but they're called upon daily to prove that their work benefits the country. Belgium is still relatively young, founded in 1830. At that time, world politics was controlled by monarchies.
If we would start from a blank page, we probably would not have a royal family, but we're not starting from a blank page. There is a certain tradition of stability, of impartiality also. This is really the person that has a public role, but that is standing above the day-to-day politics.
According to a recent survey, 3/4 of the population is in favour of the monarchy. And for the doubters, the king has his wife.
I knew that the person is really a Flemish nationalist. The CEO is, and he really is not a fan of the royal family. And she really captured the hearts of everyone because how well she had studied his organization, but also how open-minded she is and so on. And I talked to the CEO afterwards, and I asked, so what did you think? And he said, well, yeah, maybe I might change my mind. I really am a Flemish nationalist, and I really didn't see the benefit of a royal family, but she's extremely good.
For 20 years now, she has stood at the side of the Belgian king, but nobody knows how it all began.
La rencontre de Philipe et Mathilde.
How Philipe and Mathilde met is still a secret. Nobody knows anything. But they were moving in the same circles, the world of the nobility, and you're bound to run into the royal family there.
Belge, où forcément la famille royale est présente.
Mathilde first studied speech therapy in Brussels, then psychology at the Catholic University of Louvain. When she met the then Crown Prince at the age of 23, she already had her own speech therapy practice, and she was very discreet.
In public, everyone thought they knew about Philipe's love life, who he would marry, whether he was in love. It's amazing what you read in the newspapers. It was all wrong. The secret was kept until the very last minute. When Philipe introduced Mathilde, nobody knew that the relationship had been going on for some time. It was a real sensation.
The couple also invited the public to their engagement party in 1999, 4 hours of live television. These were followed by inaugural visits to the provinces. It was a test for the future bride. The marriage was approved by the Belgian Parliament, but Mathilde still had to win over the people. The tour was a boost for the monarchy's popularity.
The chemistry between her and the Belgian people was right from the very beginning. Some commentators spoke of a Mathilde mania. For the king, it's a real trump card to have such a popular queen at his side, one who has such a natural way with people.
On the 4th of December 1999, just 3 months after their engagement, Mathilde Doetinchem-Dacoz and Crown Prince Philipe walked down the aisle. It was the last royal wedding of the 20th century. And language skills were called for once again, an oath of allegiance in Flemish.
Philippe, neem deze ring als teken van mijn liefde en trouw.
She was now Crown Princess. Her predecessors knew all too well what that means. Mother-in-law Queen Paola and former Queen Fabiola. Fabiola married the Belgian King Baudouin in 1960. It was a love match. Baudouin became king at the age of 21. He then spent 9 years searching for the right woman. Fabiola became pregnant 5 times, each time a miscarriage. A tragedy for her and the monarchy.
One day, during a speech to the nation, she declared that she understood why she was childless. It was so that she could have such a big heart for all the children of Belgium. That was a very elegant way for her to accept her fate.
Fabiola became the mother of all Belgians. Philipe's mother, Paola, is married to Albert, the brother of King Baudouin. He was nowhere near the throne, but then Baudouin died unexpectedly in 1993. Actually, Philipe was supposed to get his chance back then, but the new monarch had to be married, so Philipe's father stepped in for him as Albert II. A surprise to everyone.
Even the former Prime Minister was sure that Philipe would succeed King Baudouin. And Paola, too, never expected to become queen. She didn't want to. She didn't want all of the duties that came with the job. But when Paola did become queen, she came to terms with it.
I wasn't prepared at all, and I was afraid that everyone would notice how shy I am, Queen Paola later admitted. But the new responsibility also had its advantages.
Paola and Albert had gone through a long, difficult phase in their relationship and were on the verge of divorce. But they found each other again. They love each other. They are close, and as queen, Paola could play a supporting role to Albert, as well as having her own duties too.
Public pressure forced her to act. Belgium was shaken by a child abuser scandal in the middle of the 90s. The Dutroux case, a brutal serial killer who imprisoned and abused girls between the ages of 8 and 19. 4 died, only 2 survived. The failure of the authorities led to a national crisis.
The Dutroux case affected the whole of Belgium. Queen Paola and King Albert, they came back from holidays when the bodies of the little girls, the missing girls, were found, to receive the parents, to listen to them. It was very important that also the Queen and the King felt really, really concerned, and they showed real compassion for, of course, for the children, but also for their parents and for their family members.
The Child Focus Foundation for Missing and Sexually Exploited Children was set up. Their hotline advises victims and relatives and supports them with education and prevention. Queen Paola became its patron.
I think that Queen Paola really felt really sad about what happened, and she showed that compassion to the victims. When King Albert abdicated, a lot of parents contacted us and were really sad because the King and the Queen meant so much to them, and they were really a comfort to the parents of missing and murdered children.
Those were big boots for Mathilde to fill. As Queen, she took over the patronage of her mother-in-law Paola. As a trained psychologist, she has the necessary experience.
So when Queen Mathilde took over, it became very important to her to be very active, and she wants to be involved in the work that we do. She's very interested in all that we do online. Of course, Queen Mathilde is a mother of young children, teenagers herself, which makes it, of course, as a psychologist, also very interesting to her, and she also knows very well how to deal with victims, for instance, or how to address them.
The baton was passed from queen to queen. At his abdication in July 2013, King Albert thanked his wife Paola.
Queen Paola has always supported me in my work over the past 20 years. For that, I thank her very much.
Merci et un gros kiss.
Now Mathilde is Belgium's new queen. For her, this is a huge moment. And for her dressmaker too.
When I read in the press that King Albert wanted to abdicate, I thought to myself, why haven't I received a call yet? And then the next day, Mathilde called and asked me, what shall we do? I know there's not much time. And I said I would suggest white. White is very visible and at the same time timeless, like a wedding gown. And a coronation is a moment captured for eternity.
Gone are the days of flamboyant royal robes. Today the motto is attract attention without being obtrusive, find the right thing for every occasion. When it comes to doing this, Vermeulen is a true master. He has been advising the Queen since 1999.
At the beginning of each session, the Queen comes to see the new collection. Together with her secretary, we then look through the official diary, the state visits, for example. We put something together twice a year, depending on the occasion and the trip.
In March 2019, the destination is South Korea. 17 events over 5 days. After an 11-hour night flight comes the first mission, a welcome ceremony in Seoul. A short trip to the hotel for a change of dress. Then a traditional tea ceremony. The official welcome from the Korean president. Commemoration at the Korean War Memorial. A visit to a masterclass. And a Belgian performance in Seoul. And then come the international matters, UNICEF, climate change. Songdo, a smart city. And in between, a meeting with former UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon. He persuaded her to become UN advocate.
I take this opportunity to applaud Your Majesty. Let's give a big applause.
The United Nations know just how valuable she is.
And I think that's one of the things we were looking for, is that not just to have a name, but a name that can speak to the issues and has the integrity to draw others in and other partnerships in. I think that this particular platform in this time is an incredibly useful one to help her do that job. I'm sure she will have many more platforms that she will be asked to serve on because she delivers.
Her worldwide appearances are prepared in her office at home. Her closest staff members, 2 former diplomats. Madame Forstier, the Queen's right hand, and Madame Franquinet, the Special Envoy for Sustainable Development.
Our visit the day after tomorrow at the University of Ghent. It's about the Sustainable Development Goals.
For UNICEF, Mathilde travels to Kenya in June 2019.
On the first day, the Queen will visit a refugee camp.
Is that Tuesday?
Surprise! Crown Princess Elizabeth accompanies her for the first time. In the camp, the royals distribute aid supplies to refugees from Sudan and Somalia.
We have another interesting project, a football academy.
Football isn't usually her thing, but she's here to support the refugee children who are often travelling unaccompanied. Next stop, the Maasai.
The idea of this visit is for the Queen to talk to the village elders.
She wants to support authorities that are working for the rights of children and women. The education of girls, she says, has a direct influence on families and their environments.
It's about bringing together our human family. And I think that's what she does. Now, I know we may be criticised for air travel, particularly today when we are looking at climate action to reduce emissions, but these are offset with the returns that you get in people being part of the SDGs and furthering the results that we'd like to see in people's lives.
The Queen must not get in the way of politics. Expressing a political opinion is not allowed. That is the responsibility of the government. Deputy Prime Minister De Croo is also Minister for Development Cooperation. Sometimes he accompanies the Queen, even if hardly anyone notices.
It's very striking that the moment you visit or a refugee camp or a project in Ghana, for a few minutes as a person you don't exist anymore. And I have noticed it a few times because she is such an attention magnet. It's happened a few times that security guards basically pushed me against the wall and that I had to say, look, I'm still here. I've never seen it as a problem because I think she's very good at it.
Can I present you the Deputy Prime Minister?
And with just one sentence, she sets things straight. For her commitment to humanitarian and socio-political work, the Queen is awarded the German Sustainability Award in 2017.
There are critics in Belgium, opponents of the monarchy, who accuse her of playing a political role that is not in the constitution. But there are grey areas where the Queen can afford to take the initiative.
Improving the living conditions of socially disadvantaged people in her own country, that's the aim of the Queen Mathilde Fund. There is also a prize to win each year. Nobody should be left behind, whether they're in Africa or in the suburbs of Brussels. That's what the Queen truly believes.
There is a family with 4 children aged 17, 16, 13 and 10 who are very musical. They want to play something.
Almost as old as my own children. How old are they?
17, 16, 13 and 10.
Nearly the same age.
No royal family can avoid the compulsory Christmas picture. But merely looking like an idyllic family just isn't enough these days. The Queen is aware of that too.
It's a huge responsibility. You're no longer just about yourself. You are a projection of what you can be to make sure that people's lives are better and that you can end human suffering, at least play your part in it. That's a lifetime job for her.
Mesdames et messieurs, dames en heren, Hunne Majesteiten, de koning en de koningin.
Profession Queen. Not just a job, but a vocation.
I think that she can make a change and that she can really open the minds of people concerning some very difficult topics. She really raises awareness and make people understand that there is a problem and that we all have our responsibility and a role to play.
L'union fait la force. Unity makes strength is the motto of the Belgian royal family. And Mathilde's motto too.